What's going on, guys? Kyle Bradshaw here at the Motoz booth at Wayland Wayne Weekend. This event is fantastic. So if you want to come ride some awesome dirt and hills and trails in Southern Ohio, this is the place to go. So I'm going to take you on a walkthrough of the full Motoz lineup. We have tires from the 50/50 here on the GPS, which you can flip the other direction for mostly off-road. So it kind of ups the game there a little bit. If you're looking for 70% dirt, you go with the Tractionator Adventure. That's going to be this guy right here. The biggest difference is this tire isn't going to have the solid center strip that the GPS has. So this is going to roll super, super smooth down the highway. And then, of course, you're going to get traction here on the sides when you get into the dirt. The Adventure here is going to have more gap here in between. Right here, this gap right here on the Adventure is going to give you more of that bite slip action. We'll talk a little bit about more about that here in the future. And then if you want 10% greater traction off-road, we're going to come to this guy right here. This is going to be the 80% dirt. This is the Tractionator RallZ tire, or Rally tire, depending on how you want to say it. And if you're looking for 90% in the dirt, 10% on the street, this here is the Desert HT. Now that was the lineup for the last several years, but just recently we have a brand new tire to the lineup. It's called the Outback Race. So this tire has been winning races in the Australian desert. So if you are a desert rider, racer, you really need to take a look at this tire. So we have the Outback Race. Again, it's a DOT rated tire. So you can run this thing on the street, but it's 90% off-road. Super, super gnarly. So let's talk a little bit about the differences between these tires and what makes them either a 50/50 or a mostly off-road. That solid center strip here on the GPS is really what gives this tire its longevity. You're not having that break or that missing rubber in between. So on this one here, this contact patch is going to hit the ground every time that it contacts the pavement, where this is going to have a continuous contact patch with the pavement. You're never going to have any missing spots, and that's what allows us to have such long. We're talking 10, 12, 14,000 miles out of these rear tires. Unbelievable. And this is that matching front. It's going to have the V pattern to it. It looks like it's backwards, but it's not. What happens is when this V comes down to the ground, it's actually going to trap dirt in there and allow you to get some great stopping power when riding off-road. But if you're just doing gravel roads, trails, things of that nature, the GPS is a great way to have a super, super smooth running tire with lots and lots of longevity. Now this tire is reversible. So in the 50/50 format, where's that reversible spot? All right, we are looking for this guy right here. So we have 50/50 and we have mostly off-road. So in the 50/50 direction, what happens is you can see that the lugs here kind of angle away. So when you go into a corner, it's going to be nice and smooth on the transition. If you look at it the other way, what's happening is now you have all of these leading edges that are hitting the dirt. That's going to give you that extra traction off-road. Now I've ridden this in both directions on a GS and on my 1190, and I can tell you that on the street, I really didn't notice any difference between the two. Except for when you do lean over in the corners as you start to wear down a little bit, they do get a little bit, you hear a little bit of noise in the corner, but not ever when you're running straight up. But off-road, definitely a difference. I'd say probably a 10% difference in traction mounted in the mostly off-road as versus the 50/50. Now moving on this direction, if you want to have a more aggressive tire that is still going to be smooth rolling on the highway. Now this is super smooth rolling on the highway because these blocks aren't too far apart and they are all in a row. So the big difference between the Adventure and the Rally is going to be the spacing between the blocks. You see this is a closer spacing than the Rally over here, about a third more space between. Now that's going to allow this tire over here to grab more media, right? But what's going to happen is it's going to be a little bit more, tad more noisy on the highway just because you're going to have this lug that's going to be hitting the ground. Now it's also offset, so that's the biggest difference between these two. The second biggest difference, I should say, is the fact that here we have a small, medium, large lug, small, medium, large, but they're all in the same row. So these lugs are all going to hit the same spot, but you're going to have different amounts of media that will be able to be grabbed. and that's what gives this guy here just a little bit more of an edge over the Adventure. This is going to be offset lugs. They're all the same size, but they're offset, so you're going to get a clawing effect, like one hand versus the next, or next, boom, boom, boom. So the clawing effect of the Rally really helps it perform off-road. Now, if you're looking for even more of a dirty setup, you want a 90% off-road DOT tire, man, this Desert HT is phenomenal. Now, the biggest downfall to the Desert HT is going to be the noise that it produces as you're riding down the highway. It has quite a bit of a hum to it. But if you're looking for ultimate traction, this thing's fantastic. Now, what really gives this tire special bite off-road, especially side hilling and things of that nature, are these lugs here on the side. You're going to have media that gets trapped in here and can't escape out the sides over here. So this thing just is amazing on hillsides and things of that nature. Lots and lots of traction. You can see there's lots of void in between here. So you're getting lots of media that's being grabbed in each of these little crevices here and then being thrown to the side by these little scoops. So Desert HT, phenomenal tire if you're looking for 90% off-road traction. And the brand new Desert Race. This thing is really, really neat. Super stable on the highway. It does have a little bit of a hum to it, but you can see here that the lugs aren't quite as tall as those of the Desert HT. It's going to give it Euro compliance. And yeah, these side lugs here allow for some great side bite as well. But you're looking at more of a true desert tire. Like in the deep sand, the desert, things of that nature, this Outback Race is performing extremely well. Now let's talk about front tires for a second. We have tube versus tubeless. So this here is the tubeless setup. You're going to notice that the blocks here on the dual venture front tire are going to be thicker and blockier for the tubeless style. So all of these big adventure bikes need a little bit more robust of a carcass. They need more stability, more high speed rigidity, and that's what we're going to get here on the tubeless version. The tube type, this guy is great. It's going to have a softer, more flexible sidewall. It's going to be great for single seat motorcycles as well as larger adventure motorcycles like a T7 and things of that nature. But you're going to notice here that our blocks are smaller and they are spaced further apart. So more of that dirt bike style tread that you're going to find on the tube type dual venture front tire. Now, if you want to get a little bit more aggressive in your off-road front tire performance, you're going to go with the Motoz Rally tire. So the big difference between the Rally and the dual venture is the fact that you're going to see on this that we have stepped lugs. So you have a single lug, then two lugs, single lug, two lugs, and then offset from that are these other lugs here on the side. And then of course we have these side lugs that are going to keep media from slipping through the sides, giving you amazing side bites. So off-road traction, this Rally tire really can't be beat. It's phenomenal. But if you're looking for a slightly more stable tire on the highway, super smooth rolling, the dual venture is going to be the way that you're going to want to look. Now, a lot of you guys are asking for a fatty front tire, and I've been recommending. So what does fatty mean? Let's talk about that for a second. So this here is going to be the fatty Enduro ST, and this here is going to be our dual venture 90-90-21. So the fatty is a 90-100-21, and what that means is this sidewall here is another 10% taller. So you're going to see right here. So the way that works is we have 90 millimeters across the front of the tread is how this tire is measured, and then the sidewall is 90% of that width. Well, on that fatty tire, the sidewall is 100% of that width, and you can see that sidewall is a bit taller. Now, where that taller sidewall really comes into play on these adventure bikes is when you hit large rocks and things of that nature, you're going to have more distance to have to compress before you hit your rim. So you have a lot more rim protection. It's going to roll a little bit smoother. You can run a slightly lower pressure. And then when you take a look at the tread patterns, this here is the ST soft terrain. Really, really neat, but you're going to see a lot of those side lugs here that are going to keep that media from slipping to the side like you're going to see here on the dual venture. But brand new is the new Outback Race. Comes in a 90-90-21 as well as a 100-21. And that's this over here. It's going to be a slightly harder compound of a tire. So this is going to be really, really good. I've got guys running this on 1090s that have been converted to tubeless, on Tenere 700s, and they're loving the fatty Enduro Euro 6 tire. Really, really neat combo. Now, really quick, we're talking about aspect ratios on the sidewall. Let's talk a little bit about the 140 or the 130 versus the 150. So the 150 7018 is the most common, and it's tubeless. But you take a look at that width of space between the two beads right here. These are made for the larger adventure bikes that are running those large 4-inch, 5-inch rims. And then the 140 is significantly narrower in width, and you can see that the gap here between the beads is a lot smaller. So this is going to be for that tube type application. If you're running thinner, narrow rims, that's the way you're going to want to go. But yeah, people ask, why is the 140? So let's take a look down here on the ground. This is going to be the 140. This is going to be a 130. And this here is going to be the 120. So if you're looking for a nice tire on the back of the bike, you can see that the 140 is just a little bit wider than that of the 120. That 130 kind of fits itself right in between. And yeah, depending on the width of your rim, that's going to determine which one of these sizes you're going to go with most. So if you're running a KTM 500 EXC, you can do either one. The difference is going to be, again, that overall width and then the overall weight of the tire. A lot of you guys really like that 130 that kind of slots down in the middle if you're looking for a slightly larger width tire over the 120. Or if you're looking for something a little bit lighter weight over the 140, that 130 is also a good option. And this here is the Rally in the 140 and the 120. This is the Enduro IT in the 130. And there you go, the Motoz lineup here at Wayland Wayne Weekend in Ohio. Got any questions about any of these tires that we talked about today, please leave a comment down below and I'd be happy to answer any of those for you. Thank you so much to my cameraman back here for taking the time to allow me to walk you through this amazing lineup. And if you need any of these tires, you can visit manybikes.biz. I ship for free and usually cover your taxes, so make sure you go take a look at that. And that's what we have for you today. So take care and ride safe out there.